Hi everyone, it's Jim and Crystal with Anaheim Park Tourist. If you have mobility issues, stay tuned. We're going to go over our experience traveling to the park with mobility issues. I myself had knee surgery 6 weeks prior to our last trip at Disneyland, and we're going to go over how my entire experience was and how to help you better navigate the park.
Because this was our first time visiting the parks with any kind of mobility issue, we weren't quite sure what to expect. So I decided to email the Disneyland Resort, the disability services, and ask in advance. And I pretty much knew that Jim was not going to qualify for the DAS pass. And so I was specifically asking for extra time to load and unload. For instance, Space Mountain, we know that you need to load and unload that really quickly, and we knew that he just would not be able to do that. And they were actually really great. It took them about 10 days to get back to me, but they actually called me, which I was not expecting. They called me and kind of explained the entire process to me over the phone, made sure I didn't have any questions, and then they sent a great follow-up email with a bunch of links to different things for disabilities at the parks. And we will link a wonderful brochure in the description below that they sent to me. And the brochure pretty much lists everything that you need to know. And I actually saved that on my phone into my files. And we actually looked at that brochure a couple times when we were at the park because certain things we just couldn't remember. And we wanted to make sure if we needed to go to the exit for particular attractions. So that was really handy. And so basically, because California Adventure is such a newer park compared to Disneyland, all of the attractions at California Adventure are wheelchair and scooter / ECV friendly. So you would just hop in the line on your wheelchair or on the scooter and just go through the line as usual. And then once you get closer to the loading area, the cast members are really fantastic and they'll ask you a bunch of questions. Are you comfortable going upstairs? Do you need extra time to load and unload, etc.? And it was a pretty seamless process for us. For instance, on Guardians, usually every time we rode that, we had a lightning lane. And so we would scan in with the lightning lane. Jim stayed on the scooter. And then they would have us go to the room closest to the entrance because that room will lead you downstairs and you never have to go up any stairs or anything like that. And then he just rode his scooter through the whole queue. And once they ask how many are in your party, you just line up on the numbers on your scooter just like normal. And then they usually had everyone else load the elevator before us, and then they would direct Jim where to park his scooter. And then we would load, and then his scooter was right there when we got off. So it was really easy. Really well coordinated. All the cast members were fantastic, and a pretty simple process at California Adventure.
Now, over at Disneyland, it's a little bit different because it is a much older park before a lot of these mobility standards went into effect. And so the brochure that we're linking in the description below will tell you every attraction that has a special mobility access. And we're going to start off with, for example, Alice in Wonderland. There is a green umbrella located near the exit. And first I want to clarify one thing, that I had problems standing for long periods of time and I was extremely slow on loading. So that's why I use the mobility pass. Now, over at the exit at Alice in Wonderland, like I said, there's a green umbrella, and I just went up there and stated, I need a mobility return time to this attraction. I was told, okay, no problem, and they scanned our magic bands, or if you don't have a magic band, they'll scan your tickets for everyone in your party, and you are told to return at a certain time. So for instance, if the wait for Alice is 30 minutes, we were told come back to the exit in 30 minutes and we'll scan you back in and we'll get you on. And that's exactly what we did. In our party, we had 5 of us. So there were the 2 of us and 3 teenagers, and the 3 teenagers were not feeling riding a Fantasyland dark ride. And so they skipped and did something else. So after the 2 of us rode Alice in Wonderland, we said to the teens, meet us over at Space Mountain. And at Space Mountain, we went to the exit and there's a podium there. And once again, I stated, I need a mobility return time for this attraction. And the cast member asked to scan all our tickets or magic bands. And then immediately they said, oh, wait a minute, 3 of you still have a return time for Alice in Wonderland. So this is number 1, you cannot stack these return times. So we asked the cast member to cancel the Alice in Wonderland and issue a new return time for Space Mountain. After the cast member canceled the Alice return time and issued new return times for Space Mountain, for example, in this case, this wait for Space Mountain was 50 minutes. We were told we can return within 40 minutes and we had a 1-hour window to return. Now, it may sound like we're getting one up on that standby queue, but that's not necessarily the case, because we ended up, when we returned, we went back to the same podium, scanned our tickets, and then we were instructed to sit on some benches, and we ended up waiting anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes, depending on the time of day. Once we waited a certain time period, we were called up to the podium and issued a laminated pass and instructed us to go through the exit, and we boarded that special car that's off to the left-hand side, where I had plenty of time to load. And then once that car was loaded, we waited about another 5 minutes to get pushed out onto the main track.
We also asked for a mobility pass at the Jungle Cruise, and it's similar, where you go to the exit, there's a podium there, you scan your ticket or a magic band, and they give you a return time to come back. And then when you come back, it's actually kind of neat, where you load at the exit, and they had Jim drive right up next to the boat and then hop off his ECV, load the boat, and then they would move his ECV out of the way, and it was ready to go when we got off the boat at the end.
And then Haunted Mansion's a little different, and it will be closed probably by the time this video comes out. But there was a black umbrella that is located closer to Tiana's restaurant, and I requested the same pass there. When we got in line, the cast member asked me if I could do stairs, and I stated at this point in time I was kind of tired, and I stated no, I can't do stairs. So I actually drove through the entire attraction. And just note, if you do drive through the elevator and then the eventual loading of the attraction, it is a very, very slow process, because it is really difficult to navigate that scooter through there. It is my opinion, if you have the ability to walk those last few steps, do that, because it's a lot easier than loading with an ECV. Like I said earlier, we had 3 teens with us, and we stuck to mainly thrill rides on this trip, but the process is pretty straightforward. And if you have any questions, talk to a cast member. They will tell you exactly what you need to do. I had a number of questions at Indiana Jones, at Haunted Mansion, and each time cast member was very happy to answer my questions and told me what I needed to get done.
We also wanted to mention that if you also have Genie Plus, that you can stack your Genie Plus along with the mobility pass. So for instance, we had a mobility return time for Space Mountain, and later in the day we made a Genie Plus Lightning Lane selection for Space Mountain. And then we asked earlier in the day, what do we do for Genie? And they said, oh, you just come right back here to the exit and we'll scan your magic bands or your ticket for your Genie. And then you can still do the same process where you wait for the special car to be able to have extra time to load. And it's pretty much the same process. You just go to that exit and they'll scan your magic band for you. So you can do that, but you cannot stack the mobility pass. You have to make a time, use it, and then you can go make another time.
And in our experience, Indiana Jones was probably the one that was a little bit different, because you got to go ride your scooter to the point of scanning your Genie Plus. But when you scan, then you have to talk to a cast member and say, hey, I need extra time loading. They'll give you a card, and then you drive down to the exit. And then at that point, you're instructed exactly what to do from cast members. Now we're going to move on to actually riding a scooter over at Disneyland. And probably my biggest question was, will there be enough charge for the entire day? And to give you an idea, we typically rope drop, or we are at Disneyland right at opening. And then we typically stay from anywhere from 10 to 11:30. It's rare that we actually close the park down. And to give you an idea, we walked, or they walked 14 to 17 miles each day. And that ECV that I rented from DNR Mobility, finish the day usually at about a half a charge or just a little under a half a charge. I had plenty of charge to make it the entire day, and it was a very long day. On top of that, each hotel may have a different process for charging your ECV or scooter. We did split stays, and so one of the hotels, we just charged the scooter in the room, and at a different hotel, we were actually upstairs, and so the front desk said, park it up here, give us the key, and we'll charge it nightly for you. So just go over that process with your individual hotel. Each morning when I got on the scooter had a full charge, even though we were only sleeping for about 6 or 7 hours. Now, driving the scooter to the park, well, on the way to the park in the morning, it's really crowded and you're just gonna have to take your time. You really can't get around people. It's just go with the flow. Security is a little different. Now, I was instructed to wear a brace at Disneyland by my doctor and my physical therapist. Funny thing is the day before our trip, I was told I can get out of the brace. So I got punished an extra week, and the doctor really urged me to wear that brace. And so when I went through security with the scooter and my brace on, I was thoroughly searched. So they searched the scooter's pockets, the basket, and everything else around the scooter. And then I was instructed to drive the scooter in between the metal detectors. Now, with the brace on, I was wanded in the scooter. So they took a metal detector wand and searched me for anything metal. I did happen to not wear my brace one day when we were just going for lunch in downtown Disney, and I was instructed to get off the scooter and walk through the metal detector. So if you do have mobility issues and you're not wearing a brace or anything obvious, I would request to security that, hey, I have problems getting up off the scooter, and ask if they can wand you with the metal detector in their hand. One other thing I want to mention about riding a scooter, don't be embarrassed that you're on a scooter. I was embarrassed that I was on a scooter, and I think that's a very natural thing for a lot of people. And the biggest thing is this scooter is going to help you enjoy your day, help you get around the park. And that is the number one thing. You are spending a lot of money to be there. And if I'm not mistaken, that week we spent a total of about $5,000 that week we were there. And so we wanted to have the most fun, maximize our fun, and alleviate any pain or any problems that I might have. That's number one. Navigating the park is a little bit more difficult because of the crowds, and I just want to make you aware of that. These scooters do not stop on a dime. Essentially, you let go of the accelerator and then it comes to a gradual stop. So people will look at you and cut you off and stop. People will just randomly stop in front of you. Just be aware of your surroundings, and the less likely you will be to accidentally hit someone, because that's obviously the last thing anyone wants to do. The next piece of advice I have is make a plan with your group or your family, and let me give you an example. We were on Main Street and we wanted to go ride Haunted Mansion, and I know that Adventureland is the quickest way there, but is notoriously busy. So I instructed the other 4 people in our party, hey, go meet me at the Haunted Mansion, and I will drive the scooter through Frontierland and take the longer route there. And that was the much easier route to take. It was much less crowded. I can just cruise, and I enjoyed the sights and sounds while I was driving there. The biggest thing is it saves you that stress of being boxed in, really crowded, where you can't move or you don't want to hit someone. So that's why I say that. Have a plan, and if you can avoid crowded areas, do so. Now, this happens more when it gets dark out, and I want to make you aware of it. People just cannot see you. So make sure your headlight is on. But let me give you an example where someone didn't see me in Adventureland. We were on our way to Indiana Jones, and I had one of my kids and Crystal walking in front of me, and I was following them fairly close, and someone came from the side and actually hit me from the sides and almost knocked me and the scooter completely over. The person ended up apologizing profusely, stating they just didn't see me. And accidents like that can happen. Just be aware that you are less visible when you're sitting lower to the ground and people may not see you. If you made it this far in the video, we want to say thanks. This last section of the video will be more on knee-specific issues. So if you're going to drop off, we want to say thank you so much, and we hope you enjoyed this video. For those of you that are hanging around for knee-specific or leg-specific injuries and how I dealt with the different attractions, I wanted to go over this because I had a lot of problems riding different attractions at Disneyland. The first attraction we rode was the Matterhorn, and I thought to myself, oh, let me get in that front car, it has the most room. Oh no, it was really, really painful. And to give you an idea, I had about 130 degrees of flexion in my knee. Right before I went, I was measured, and then I had to wear my knee brace, and that knee brace adds a little bit of height to your leg, and it just didn't allow me to bend as far as I wanted to bend. So I had a lot of problems fitting into the Matterhorn. So my suggestion is get into the middle seats of either train, because there's a little bit more room back there, and I was much more comfortable there. Big Thunder Mountain, I had a heck of a time fitting in Big Thunder Mountain. I just could not bend my knee far enough. Just couldn't get it in there with a knee brace on. And I ended up riding solo each time I rode it, just because I had to sit sideways and I had to give a little extra room for my leg this direction. And on that attraction, I was uncomfortable, and it did push my limits. Now, going over to California Adventure, the Incredicoaster, it was very, very uncomfortable for me. So just be aware that you may have problems fitting on that ride. And then we completely skipped, for example, Goofy Sky School. There was no way on this planet I was going to be able to bend my leg that far. And I wanted to point this out to you, just in case you have a leg or knee injury and you just can't quite get it bent far enough, you may not be able to ride your favorite attraction. Just because I'm thinking of it right now, I never had an issue on Space Mountain. There was plenty of room there. I bring this up because you may want to delay your trip a few months and wait for your leg to heal a little bit more so you can get on the different attractions you want to ride. And if you don't have a lot of flexion in your leg, you may not be able to ride a whole bunch. And I wanted to point that out to you. I was really shocked on how little room there is on a lot of these attractions. If you found this content valuable, please give us a thumbs up. And if you want to check out one of our room tours, go ahead and click the link here. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.